Today's topic, at least we have not experienced it. I have not experienced the delight. We have not experienced what exactly is the supramental consciousness, because these are all beyond our ordinary human consciousness. And it's extremely difficult for us even to comprehend these things. So what all we can do is, up to a certain level we can go, up to a certain level we can comprehend, to the limit where the human mind can understand. And beyond that, what is left to us? Beyond that, we need to believe those words, have faith in those words of the seers, Vedic seers, who has seen all this and then present to us. For us, Sri Aurobindo is the Rishi himself. He has experienced the supramental consciousness, and he is laying before us
I can hear
the entire picture of what we are going to discuss today. Delight of existence itself is a difficult phrase or the difficult title to understand. So as one of the principles of Sri Aurobindo, to understand anything, we need to go from near to far. How do we go from near to far? So let us try to understand what exactly is the existence. How do we define existence? Now, defining existence, shall we define that all that is around us, all that we perceive, all that we understand through our senses, can we say that it's all existence? Yes, this bottle is an existence. This bottle is an existence because it exists. This paper is an existence because it exists. The chair exists. Stars exist. This building exists. The space exists. Matter exists. Antimatter exists. Electrons exist. Subatomic particles exist. So everything between the microcosmic world to the macroscopic existence, these things exist. And we perceive them, we understand them. But where do they exist? They exist in the existence. So that is why it is easy for us to understand what exactly existence is. The root word or the root meaning of existence is to be there, to be present. We understand all the things because they are all objectified for us. By some way or the other, we understand. We are not in a position to see the air, for example, but we know that it exists. We are not able to see the ether. We are not able to see the space, but we are aware of it. We are conscious of this particular space, this particular ether as an existence. So we have understood the term existence. Now let us come to an understanding. Is this existence what we are talking? Is it just an inert existence? Is it just an devoid of consciousness? Is it just a static existence? No, isn't it? The existence around us, everything is in a movement. Everything is in a rhythm. I and you may feel that we are sitting still here. We are sitting, without any movement. But dear friends, it is not so. The reality is, I am sitting on an Earth. My planet Earth is rotating on its own axis, and this planet is rotating on Sun. The solar system in which we are sitting rotates on another bigger sun. That bigger sun rotates on another galaxy. So it is everything. The whole existence is in a perpetual movement. The whole existence is a perpetual dynamism. So when the movement, then the whole existence is in movement, there must be some energy. And when there is an energy, there has to be vibrations. And when there is a vibration, we must be able to feel it. Are we ready to feel it? So one step if we go, so that means we have understood, we have tried to analyze that existence is dynamic and existence is also conscious, isn't it? Why existence is conscious? Existence is conscious because of the simple reason it even knows how to maintain oxygen percentage in the atmosphere for billions of years. It also knows that my gravity doesn't change. Gravity, the so-called Goldilocks constants, the universal constants do not change. The atmosphere doesn't change. All these, how is it being maintained? How is this perfect order in the universe exists? Once we understand that the existence is conscious, that's why the existence is conscious. It is aware. What is its impact? What are the repercussions? Once we have accepted that existence is dynamic, existence is conscious, then the next question comes. Why existence is conscious? Why is it conscious? Unless we accept the fact that there must be a force behind this realization of the existence or by the existence, a conscious force or some kind of intelligence or some kind of cosmic intelligence. We may call it anything. We may call it as cosmic intelligence. We may call it as the supreme intelligence. We may call it anything. But we should accept one fact that behind this existence, for the existence to become conscious, there has to be an intelligence. And that intelligence is actually the consciousness force itself. Because that consciousness force, here it cannot be just a consciousness because the existence is already conscious. So there has to be a force which enforces the aspect of consciousness in existence. And that's why that consciousness force is responsible. So dear friends, we have seen two terms here. One is the Sat, that is the Astitva, that is existence, is actually conscious. And the existence to be conscious, here we have also understood that there is a consciousness force which is there. Now, when these two terms are there, Sat and Chit, talk, Ananda, third aspect of Sat, Ananda, is actually inherent in the Chit aspect of it and in the consciousness aspect of it. That's why Sri Aurobindo calls it as the Chit Shakti or the consciousness force. So we have come to understood these three things: what existence is intelligent, why it is conscious. Now we come to the term, the existence. Another important thing here is Ananda, or the delight, the bliss, what we call, is inherent character of the existence itself, of the Chit itself. Now, who is behind this? Who is behind this Satchit Ananda? Is Satchit Ananda itself is the supreme what we are thinking about? Or is it something else? Satchit Ananda is the first manifestation of that creator. There is another force behind Satchit Ananda. And what is Satchit Ananda? The Vedas, the Upanishads tell us Satchit Ananda, if it is a subjective expression of the God or the absolute of the supreme, Satyam Jnanam Anantam, the Vedas says. Satyam Jnanam Anantam are the objective expressions of Satchit Ananda. We have understood Sat as Satyam because it's the reality. So Sat is Satyam. Now Chit, we have also said that the Chit is Chit Shakti, that is the consciousness force, and this consciousness force is knowledgeable. That's why it is Jnana. Now the question comes is the third aspect, Sat Chit Ananda, and here the Upanishads say that it is Satyam Jnanam Anantam. Okay, now how do you relate the term Ananda and Anantam is the question. How infinity or Ananta can become Ananda? How are they related? So Sri Aurobindo explains this very beautifully, because infinity or the Ananta is, what is Ananta? What is infinite? The infinite, but limitlessness. When there is no limit for anything. If I have power without any limitation to do anything, it will be a very happy state of affair for me as an individual, because I will not see any failure at all. So when Anantam or the infinity equals the limitlessness, limitlessness will yield to freedom. And when you have complete freedom with all the powers in your hand, and that is nothing but delight. That is how the subjective expressions of Sat Chit Ananda gets reflected as an objective expression of Satyam Jnanam Anantam. Now, who is responsible for this Sat Chit Ananda to come? Sat Chit Ananda is the first manifestation of that supreme reality. There is one more reality behind Sat Chit Ananda, whom we call it as, whatever we may call it as absolute, we may call it as Brahma. These things, anything there is before manifestation of Sat Chit Ananda, there is this Lord. Now we cannot ask the question from where this supreme came from. We have not reached that stage at all. Probably when we all go and meet that supreme, we will ask him, from where did you come from? But let us now foretake that that supreme exists. Now this, who is this Brahman? Let us call him as Brahman or the supreme or the App. But who is he? He is the Alpha, he is the Omega. He is the God who is for everything that moves in the earth. For everything he is responsible. Even the blade of grass doesn't move without his permission. That's what the Gita says. Also, there is none who is second to him. And these are the qualities of, he is the fundamental reality. Now, once he is, this is kind of a, the story which is told in Upanishad about the two birds which are sitting on the tree. This is a very known story, so I will not go into this. But this Brahman, who is creator, who is responsible for everything, he is an infinite. We call, he is infinite, imperishable, immortal, indestructible, indeterminable. And Sri Aurobindo says that the status of that supreme, the status of that absolute, that Brahman, cannot, without negative, we can only express him or accept him with negativities, with negative qualities. What are the negative qualities? It's not in the wrong sense we should take. He is not determinable at all. He is important, he is immortal, he cannot be understood. He is imperishable. All these negative adjectives only can be used to describe the positive aspect of Brahma. So this is what the aspect. He is the one who is behind all these things. So once this we have understood the Brahman aspect of it, and he is infinite. Now what happens is, how this infinite, for a finite to be a part of the infinite, it becomes easy. But how can this infinite comes finite? And why he should become finite? This is the play of Lord. This is the Leela, what he says. At some point of time, he felt that, okay, let me play a game of evolution, or let me call it as Leela. Let me play this game only for my self-satisfaction. Let us imagine, for example, you are alone in this universe. There is nobody. Nobody. And you decide to play a game of chess. When you decide to play a game of chess, you have nobody. You are no other person who is participating. You have no chessboard. You have no coins. So what will you do? But still you aspire to play the game of chess. What do? I will evolve the pawns. I will evolve the board. I will set the rules. I will play on this side and I will also play on this side. Which means to what? Which means to say that I know every move of my own self. And believe me, how many hours can we do this? How many hours can we play this game of chess alone, knowing every move what the other man makes? 1 hour, 2 hour, 1 day, 2 day. But dear friends, this Supreme Lord who has created us, he is doing this since billions and billions of years. So there must be some secret behind it, isn't it? Why he should do it for billions and billions of years without any reason? Unless he is enjoying it, he must not be doing it. So the delight aspect of it, the ananda aspect of it, completely infused gets expressed in every activity of his. Now this sat, so this is actually now when the Lord is setting the tone for his game. So from infinite, he first manifests himself as Sat Chit Ananda, which are the subjective experiences. And those things are also available for us for human experience, which are actually become finite to us in the form of Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam. And these three things are also not, these are not sufficient. So then what does he do? Then the creation comes into picture. Then he brings some kind of a force, something that is where some kind of a principle where he says the principle of the absolute by limiting himself, because he has to limit himself to evolve something, to evolve creation, to evolve, to do something. So he brings the fourth principle of supermind. So now we have Satchitananda, the three aspects, and the fourth aspect is the supermind, which actually is the essence of Satchit Ananda itself. So this actually forms the kingdom of Lord, what we can say. This is the Parardha, or the upper hemisphere of the Lord. This is the kingdom of Lord. The creation has not yet started. Now it is from now, the bottom hemisphere, the lower hemisphere, which asks for creation. Now, how does the creation starts? Now, Sri Aurobindo says that we have Satchit Ananda at the top, along with the supermind, which is the creative force. Now, this creative force, all these things, they're not different. Please remember that Satchit Ananda and supermind, they're not different. They're all in one package. They're all together. They're all one. The four expressions of the same reality. Now, so that oneness predominates. Now, when it comes to the level of supermind, the oneness becomes multiplied. So the infinite multiplicity of the one and the eternal unity of the many are the two aspects in which the Lord expresses himself. He makes himself available to us. Such a beautiful sentence. The infinite multiplicity of the one and the eternal unity of the many. This principle prevails at the supermind level. Now, as we actually come down, he realizes that the creation starts. Even here, we are not able to, the human consciousness is not able to comprehend the workings of the Lord. So he still wants to come down. He wants to come down to the level where we can understand. So he is actually creating a play field for his game. He sits in the upper hemisphere. He is creating the lower hemisphere. So that is how, then he comes down. And then this supermind, where the oneness predominates, prevails, then in the next step, this whole oneness starts, the multiplication starts. The the multiplicity begins below the supermind. That is the state of overmental play. Now that is the overmind. Then once this overmind comes, the overmind very close to the supermind, but it has the essence of oneness, but that is where the multiplicity also begins. Now this overmind actually moves with two forces, that is the comprehending force and then the apprehending forces. The comprehending force understands that there is oneness and the multiplicity has to exist through these things. When it comes to the apprehending consciousness, when it comes to the apprehending movement, that is where the difference between the observer and the observed comes into picture. In creation, even the Panchabhutas, the five gross elements, have the same principle. When it starts with the ether, which has got the subtlest, the most subtle existence. From ether evolves the air, the next principle, the Vayu. And from Vayu comes the next principle, which is Agni. Then the next principle, the water, and then the Prithvi. And it is realized, from ether, when we come from ether to the level of earth, these are actually have got, the Sankhya philosophy says, the entire creation or the entire universe is based on 25 principles. What are these 25 principles? 5 Panchamahabhutas, and then 5 Karmendriyas, 5 Jnanendriyas, 5 Tanmatras associated with the Panchamahabhutas. So how many? So 5 into 4, 20. Plus we have Ahankara, Manas, and Buddhi. These 3 principles, Purusha and Prakriti. These are the 25 principles based on which the universe is created. And this is according to the Sankhya philosophy. Now, as we have seen from ether to the level of earth, the entire principle moves from the highest, the subtlest aspect to the grossest aspect. And there is a association also. For example, the first ether actually gets reflected in the senses, through Manomaya Purusha as the sound. The ether aspect is equated with, gets expressed with the sound. The second aspect, Vayu, or the air, gets expressed with the touch, Sparsha. The other things go like this. We have, then we have smell as the earth, which all of us realize that who doesn't like the smell of the earth when first few drops of rain fall on the earth? That smell of the earth is so pleasing, so beautiful, so touching. So the water represents the ruchi, the taste. Agni represents the form. So air represents the sparsha aspect of it. Then the ether represents the shabda aspect of it. So this is how, from the subtle to the gross, we are able to, we come to understand the workings, the dynamic creation, the dynamism, and the creative principles behind all these things come into the picture. Now, this consciousness force, also the tremendous consciousness force, is behind this working of every Panchamahabhutas, the entire creation itself. And this consciousness force is everything. It's very simple. Sri Aurobindo says, when this consciousness force gets diffused, the macrocosm, it is responsible for the macrocosm. And when it gets concentrated, it becomes the reason for microcosm. Isn't it beautiful? So once we have understood this creation aspect of it, now please remember what we are now talking is, for till now, whatever we have talked, till the creation has come into the picture, there is no pain, there is no suffering. Everything is delight. Everything is the play of that Supreme Lord. Now he comes, now the next process comes, the part of the creation itself. Now, how does he, once, yes, he has created the play field. The upper hemisphere is his hemisphere, the kingdom of God, and then the lower hemisphere. Lower hemisphere, he has created from a super mind, then it comes to the mind, the divisive mind, the divisive mind, which from the super mind, the level, the creation gets to the divisive mind, then that comes into the life part of it, then it comes into the matter part of it. So that is how the entire creation. So if you actually see, Sri Aurobindo talks about 8 principles of creation involved in the creation. He says the Sat, Chit, Ananda, and the Supermind. You can imagine that it's the upper hemisphere. These 4 aspects, Sat, Chit, Ananda, and the supermind. These are the four principles. And those principles actually get mirror inverted. These are the mirror images of the top four aspects. Sat becomes the matter. Chit becomes actually the life. Mind becomes the mind is the expression of the super mind. And Ananda actually is reflected or the expressed by the psychic aspect of it, or the psychic being. So these are the 8 principles which Sri Aurobindo talks it in Life Divine, chapter number, I don't remember the chapter, but it is 7 folds, 7 chords of a being. So these 8 principles are beautifully explained. Now we have talked about the creation part of it. Now what exactly, then now what does he do? Now that means this Supreme Lord from the summit of his consciousness has come down to the level of matter. Now below the matter there are several belts. The belt of unconsciousness, which we call it as the insentient, or the then belt of subconsciousness. Then there is a semi-consciousness, then we have all these aspects. When the Lord, Supreme Lord, from the summit of his consciousness comes down to that level where now it loses itself. You remember we said in that supermind level, we have the sense of oneness, and below that, everything starts getting multiplied. The multiplicity begins. As the multiplicity begins, and as we come to the bottommost aspect of creation, this multiplicity, everybody thinks that the activities of the multiplicity thinks that itself is important, and then they tend to forget the original source. This happens even in an organization, isn't it? If somebody becomes extremely strong in the downline, he gets and then he gains so much of importance, so much of recognition, that people start thinking, oh, he is the person. The people forget the original person himself, which is the actually game, that is the play. So now this is how the whole thing starts. This is where the involution comes into picture. Now, once we have already talked about this, the matter, when this consciousness, supreme consciousness, or the intelligence, let us call it as, when the intelligence of God comes at the matter level, it has become completely inconscient. But there is the potential, it is hidden there, like a dimmer stat. What happens in a dimmer stat? We turn the dimmer stat, the light slowly comes down, and then finally it goes off. Now, if you question, is the light there? Is it darkness or is it light? Actually, the light is involved in the darkness, and darkness is involved in the light. So similarly, the supreme intelligence is involved already, but it is not in a position to. So Mother says, at this stage, this indwelling, the intelligence which is there inside, it is not able to express itself. It sends an SOS to the original source. That's what the Mother says. So he says, now I cannot go any more down. Let me start. I am suffocating. So please save me. So that is where the involution stops and then evolution starts. And that is where that small impulse comes into the picture. The matter, life comes into the matter, and matter grows from the matter. Then we have the whole aspect of evolution which comes into the picture. From the matter, when it comes into the matter, then slowly life evolves. Life also evolves not suddenly. Life evolves with a single-celled amoeba, and then prokaryote, and then comes into the bigger picture. Then the amphibians, which is amply reflected by our Dashawataras. We get the water life, and then we get amphibians, then it gets converted into half man. All those things come into the picture, and we reach the level of human beings. When we reach the level of human beings, the game totally changes. What is the game change? Because till the evolution part of it, we reach the human stage, God takes care of us. It is all in the form of instinct. How do birds fly in such a beautiful formation? Using all the aerodynamic principles, how do they fly? How do they understand, realize what is danger? How dogs come to know about the earthquake much, much earlier than many of the seismographic measurements or instruments? These are all in the form of instinct. The knowledge or the intelligence is in the form of instinct. But when it comes to the stage of man, God endows him with what is called as discretion, the thinking capability. Now he is able to think. Now the God stops there. Now he says, there is another beautiful analogy in the Life Divine where Sri Aurobindo says, see, we talked about creation. When the supreme, the consciousness from the summit of the consciousness, it comes down to the lowest ebb or to the matter, there is a stairs which is created. Step by step, God comes down. And this every step is a world by itself. Every step is has a unique character by itself. And not only this, he calls it as descending stairs. Along with the descending stairs, there is also an ascending stairs which gets created parallelly. So Sri Aurobindo calls it as parallel stairs. That means in one stair, on the descending stair, there is already a descent of the involution has taken place, and then there is an ascending stair which is made available to you. But believe, in the ascending stairs is extremely dynamic. The descending stair was by the Lord himself, so it doesn't matter. But he made it sure that the ascending stairs in the process of evolution, where man climbs from step to step, stage by stage, or elevates himself in every state of his consciousness, uses these steps which are already created by the ascending stage. Now, why it is dynamic? This is dynamic because he has given that additional pulling power. If I go one step, the next step will pull me towards it. So that is the way. The more it is directly proportional. So that's why Mother says the grace is proportional to the aspiration and your effort, your sincerity. How sincerely we aspire to reach above. How sincerely we aspire to elevate ourselves. These are the things which we. So when we start talking about when we reach the level of mental, now what is the journey? What is the game of the rule of the game? What he has created? What is the rule of the Leela? The rule of the Leela is very simple. I have brought you to the stage of man. You have to come to me by climbing the stairs. Simple. But it is a huge gap between us and between the landing where the Supreme Lord stays. That's a huge gap. That's why there is a hierarchy of minds. Sri Aurobindo also gives us how exactly we can go step by step, stage by stage. So this is how we go from ordinary mind. He talks about higher mind, from higher mind to talks about illumined mind to intuitive mind to super mind, and then add the super mind, add over mind, and then from the over mind to the super mind. Over mind is the last state, last plane of consciousness of the lower hemisphere, or the highest status the human being can comprehend in the creation. Now, once this status we reach, there is the overmental plane is called, Mother also calls it as the golden lid. It is this lid which there is a reference also, the Vedic reference, like Hiranmayana Patrena Satya Sapitam Mukham Tattvam Pushana Apavrano Satya Dharmaya Drishtai. So this is only when you rend this uh, golden lid, when you tear it down and you try to climb upon, the supramental consciousness comes down. And that is where we unite with the Supreme. Now, this is the entire game of creation, where in majority part of it, the delight is the essence of it. Isn't it? There is no pain, there is no suffering, because majority of it is created by the delight himself. He doesn't know anything. There is no duality exists for him. For him, ignorance is same, knowledge is same, pain is same, bliss is same, everything. Bliss and also misery is same, sat and asat is same, ignorance and knowledge is same. There are no dualities for him at all. He doesn't understand these things. But the problem comes, we are not able to understand him because there is a huge gap. He is an infinite, we are finite. What do we understand? What is our capability actually? We are not even capable of understanding fourth dimension, isn't it? We are only understanding three dimensions: length, breadth, height. Beyond that, what is that we understand? We are only human beings at the present stage. Majority of us are capable of understand, have mastered these things. These three dimensions, these are called spatial dimensions. I have managed, that means we are able to go, move forward, etc. The fourth dimension is the time dimension, as they say. Have we mastered the time dimension? No. We are only aware of the time as a fourth dimension, and we only know one aspect of the time dimension, which is a forward movement. We have not mastered the time dimension at all. We only know that we cannot go back into the time. If I go back in the time, if I master that fourth dimension, I literally become a semi-god. I can go back, I can look into the future, but we human beings are not yet reached the fourth dimension at all. Now, there is a theory which talks about the creation. It is called superstring theory. Now, superstring theory talks about, that means I'm talking about the scientific advancement that has taken place. The scientists are now talking about 10 dimensions in the universe. We are not able to understand, the ordinary human being is not able to understand the fourth dimension itself. Let us take it for granted that we understand the fourth dimension, but we are not able to understand fifth dimension, sixth dimension. But science in the present, in our own era, is talking about 10 dimensions. Are we in a position to understand 10 dimensions except few scientists? We are not in a position to understand. And Veda says the Supreme Lord is 64 dimensions, master of 64 dimensions. There is another scientific theory which talks about 26 dimensions. They explain it. Can we imagine infinity? Can any one of you, or for that matter, no human being can imagine infinity? We cannot understand infinity. How far do I go? The longest distance I can see is only when I stand on a mountain or in front of a sea. Only that horizon I can see. Beyond that, what? I can see the stars, but that is not infinity. When we talk about multiple universes, can we imagine that? We can't imagine. So human mind has got an extreme limitation. You know, Sri Aurobindo says, it is like he says, like we human beings look at part of the sky, a strip of sky, he says. A strip of sky is seen by the human being, and he thinks that that strip of the sky is the entire sky itself. Foolish, isn't it? Now he calls the whatever sky we see that is visible to us, it is actually a small strip and compared to the entire universe. isn't it? So we are seeing this sky, strip of sky, and then we equate it or we extrapolate, we try to understand, thinking that it is all the other entire sky is. That is the limitation of the mind, human mind. It is incapable of seeing the entire truth in its entirety at a time. It sees only small pieces, comes together, brings it together, and then takes it forward. And this supreme, what we are talking, he goes beyond all this existence. He goes beyond all this existence. You know, in Purusha Sukta of Rig Veda, he says, you know, Sabhumi Vishwato Vishwa Atyatishta Dashangula. He even goes 10 inches, so 10 angulas beyond the existence. So he's even bigger than that. So this is what actually he says. And the Nadi Sukta, which comes in the Rig Veda, talks about the creation. When all these things happen, so we have now come to an understanding of one thing, the delight of existence. I hope we have now understood what exactly is the delight of existence. Delight of existence to a human being is different from delight of existence, what we are talking about. Delight of existence to me is only a joy, is only happiness. And what is this happiness I acquire? When my desires get satisfied, when I get good my remuneration, when I get good increment, when I hear good news. These are very momentary achievements when we make, and the superficial levels when we feel that we have achieved something, when we get rewarded. These small kinds of happinesses, joy, moments, they appear to us. Mother says we are even incapable of taking and withstanding that true delight. What is the delight of that the Supreme God, what we are talking? He says, Sri Aurobindo says, this is when that delight looks at this small delight of a human being, it says it looks very petty. You know, that delight of that existence is in the progressive manifestation itself. Now tell me one thing, when a painter is involved in painting, during the course of painting, what is the most important thing? When will the painting of Michelangelo, the painting of Leonardo da Vinci, the painting of Raja Ravi Verma, for example, if you stand before those paintings, the splash of colors, the way the colors are expressed, the features, everything catches your mind, a rapturous attention we get into. How? It is actually the delight which expressed from that painter who has done it. But in the process, he may probably dirty his hands by the paint. He may do all the things, but does he suffer from those things? Does he say that my hand is dirty? Does he say that the brush is upper? No. For him, expression through that painting is of primary importance. So all the small hitches, glitches, what he comes during the process of painting is not seen at all. It doesn't matter. Same thing happens with the sculptor. He chisels out from any kind of stone. He chisels out, let us say, some innocent face, a child, a curious child he wants to. How does he do that? He chisels out the extra portion, he chisels out, he makes the curious, the very expression, the sculpture, as a very curious one, beautiful one, but how does he make it? Can the stone say that I am suffering with pain? It cannot say. And that is not the ultimate goal at all. The ultimate goal is the expression of the delight, even at human level. So there is the difference between the delight of a human being and then delight of the supreme existence and supreme consciousness. Now, With this whole background, let me dwell for a few minutes only on the today's topic of the day, the delight of existence and what exactly is the problem. Sri Aurobindo dedicates 2 chapters to this uh, topic, chapter number 11 and chapter number 12, delight of existence, the problem, the delight of existence, the solution. Now, what exactly is the delight of problem? Delight of existence, the problem. The problem is very simple. The problem is we, the human beings, are asking this since the advent of the species at all. If the all-knowing, if the universe is created, if the whole world is created, if the entire existence is created by that Lord who is infinite, who is all knowledgeable, who is extraordinarily intelligent, who knows everything, why is this world is created with so much of suffering and with so much of pain? This is the question which is bothering us, which bother everybody. Now there are two, this can be approached from 2 points of view. One, let us say this question, why the universe is made up of with so much of suffering, with so much of pain. The people who do not believe in the supreme or the absolute, or in general terminology, atheists or materialists who give importance to the matter and not the spirit, those materialists cannot ask this question at all. They will not ask this question because they relate this to the karma and other effects, the cause and effect of the aspect of existence. So because they cannot ask this, whom will they ask? Why there is a suffering in the world and this thing? They will ask whom? They will not ask because they don't have belief at all, because their belief is a separate thing. Now there is the other part of it. The people who are who believe in the spirit ask this question because they have somebody to ask that question. So where this question comes, how do we answer this? What exactly is the problem? This actual problem, this chapter starts with, Sri Aurobindo starts with this chapter with the quote of Taittiriya Upanishad. You know, there is the entire Taittiriya Upanishad is a dialogue between Bhrigu and his father Varuna. Now, when this dialogue keeps on happening, the Bhrigu keeps on going and then asks his father, teach me about what is what. Teach me who is Brahman. Teach me. So as all these, as the step goes, then he keeps on telling that the matter, he starts with the matter. And then the Bhrigu comes back to his father and then he says, Annam Brahmeti Vajana. That means I have understood Annam as Brahma. It goes like the dialogue goes like this. And finally, Annam Brahmeti Vajanat, Prano Brahmeti Vajanat, Mano Brahmeti Vajanat, Vijnana Brahmeti Vajanat, Anando Brahmeti Vajanat. That means the final stage where he says that I have understood Brahma, nothing but delight. So this is the true picture of Brahman or the creator itself. So this is where the delight of existence. Now we have proved what is existence. Existence is nothing but the consciousness force. Consciousness force is nothing but an inherent aspect of Sat. And Ananda is nothing but the inherent aspect of Sat Chit Ananda. And all these things actually are nothing but delight itself as far as the creation is concerned. But still, it doesn't answer our question. It still doesn't answer our question satisfactorily. So now, how do we, I'll take another 5 minutes. Okay? So how do we go about what is the solution? Now Sri Aurobindo comes to the solution part of it. Now, what is the solution to this problem? We have talked about evolution and why do we feel the pain? Why do we feel the suffering? Sri Aurobindo also underwent on the eve of November 24th Darshan, 1938, if I'm not mistaken. He falls in the bathroom, has his leg fractured. Now, at that point in time, all these, the medical was not probably advanced so much. So he was plastered and then he was asked to stay on the bed, take rest on the bed for a long time. Now, it was a long time, but during that, what kind of suffering, what kind of pain has Sri Aurobindo gone? Or was he able to control it? And we also see the story of Ramana Maharshi. Ramana Maharshi once had a damage to his his toe finger, and which the doctors said it has to be treated, or to some extent it has to be removed. But actually, Ramana Maharshi undergoes that treatment, a surgical treatment, without any anesthesia. How? Without feeling the pain, without feeling the suffering. The pain for me is probably different from the pain for me. For some people, gossiping becomes a happiness, isn't it? For some people, talking, ill about others becomes happiness. But for some, that cannot be the reason. So for every individual, the status of pain and suffering is different. So now, what is the solution? Now the solution comes into the picture. That is where the aspects of integral yoga comes into the picture. Now, there is a beautiful, Sri Aurobindo discusses this even in book 6, canto 2 of Savitri, where he deals with the pain and suffering. In one of the, I'll just read these few lines. Pain is the signature of the ignorance, attesting the secret God denied by life. Until life finds him, pain can never end. In the same, on the same page, as we go further, the spirit rises mightier by defeat. Its godlike wings grow wider with each fall. Its splendid failures sum to victory. So these are the few lines in Savitri. Now, what exactly now the solution? Now this is the aspect of our yoga, the aspect of growth. As we grow in our state of consciousness, by means of surrendering ourselves to the divine, Sri Aurobindo talks about the triple transformation, the psychicization, spiritualization, and the supramentalization. This is probably today is not the time to discuss how do we practice integral yoga and what are the steps involved in the sadhana. That we can take it up at a later date. But now what is important for us is to understand. Sri Aurobindo explains different parts of being of a human being, the constitution of human being. He talks about, we all know, even the Vedas, the Upanishads, all these things, they explain us the constitution of the construction of a human being. We have from Annamaya Kosha, behind that is a Pranamaya Kosha, behind that is a Manomaya, then Vijnanamaya, then the Anandamaya. Beyond all these human construction, Sri Aurobindo also talks about what is called a nervous envelope. There is what is called a nervous envelope, which we can say the aura kind of a thing. It is like an aura. It is a protective layer. It is a protective envelope which is around every human being, every existence. Now, this nervous envelope is actually an interface between the universal forces and the individual forces. Now, everything, every action, every reaction, the human being as an individual, we respond to is result of the universal forces, the outside forces which enter us. Now, how do they enter? They actually penetrate through this nervous envelope or that protective layer which comes. And this nervous envelope is essentially the instrument of the Manomaya Purusha. Because man is being a mental being, Manomaya Purusha is the governing Purusha for human beings at this stage. So everything is realized through the mental being or the Manomaya Purusha. Even if I'm hurt, the sensation of pain, the sensation of suffering is through the Manomaya Purusha. Because I have the ability to understand, because I have mind, I have the ability to understand, because I'm conscious of, I'm aware of the pain through the mental being, through the mental faculties, I can understand the pain of to my physical body. So that is what it is. So all the universal forces which touch the human being or the individual is through this envelope. Now, when we start going, as we raise from one state of consciousness to the other state of consciousness, what becomes important is we also, the consciousness also gets widened. But how do we grow in our consciousness? It is not growing outside. It is the more we grow inside, the more we identify ourselves with our psychic, with our true self, the more we grow outside. The deeper we go, our deeper our consciousness grows outside, the wider it goes out. And also the taller, the higher it goes. In both, it is the vertical system and the subliminal system. In both directions, once we go vertically and the wider the consciousness becomes, it becomes the second step of triple transformation, which means that the universalization, which means that a human being is possible when his consciousness becomes one with the universal consciousness. He is able to balance the forces or the universal forces which act upon him through the mental being. If there are negative forces, the negative universal forces, the nervous envelope which we talked about is strong enough to balance the negative impact of the universal forces. So that is how we are in a position. Once we reach that position, we are in a position to control the pain and then suffering. And that is precisely the reason why Sri Aurobindo says, until the life finds him, pain can never end. These are all actually the entire movement of the universe is like a rhythm. The rhythmic curve, it's absolutely up. It's like a wave, rhythmic wave with its crest and then downs, and probably the down becomes the pain, and nothing is permanent, isn't it? Nothing is permanent, the suffering. And in fact, in one place he says, Sri Aurobindo says, the sum of happiness, now suppose you give some numbers in my life so far. I'm 65. Now, if I take the entire incidents that have happened in my life, how many happy incidents have happened? And how many times have I suffered in my life? Every individual can do this. You will find that the sum of happiness is much, much more than the sum of suffering or the pains we have undergone. Now, why do we feel then, why do we not feel the happiness more than the suffering? Now, happiness we do not feel, like ghar ki murgi dal barabar. When something is very natural for me, I take it for granted. We take our parents for granted. I take my friends for granted. So it is only when it is not common to me, when it is not natural to me, I feel the other one, delight or the happiness is a natural part of me. So that's why I feel that it is a part of mine, and so I don't give importance to it. But when something that is not natural to me, pain and suffering is not natural to us, because the fundamental reality or the basis on which the whole existence, including you and me, are on delight, which is natural to us. So when happiness, suffering and pain comes to us, which is not the natural status to us, we feel the pain and suffering more. So this is the solution. So the only way to control pain and suffering is to continue the efforts of doing the yoga part of it. How do we go ahead? How do we raise ourselves to a higher levels of consciousness? How do we try to reach the divine or to become one with the divine? These things are, of course, I know it's very easy to talk, but very difficult to happen. We are all in the same boat, but at least the effort should be. So we have discussed today's problem, the delight of existence, the problem, and also the solution part of it, and how we have also seen as how the entire creation, entire existence is nothing but delight itself. So to come to the today's topic, delight of existence is when we take at a much higher level, it is actually the delight of the Supreme Lord itself. And it is nothing but delight of the consciousness. It is extremely difficult when I say delight of the consciousness. For us, it is difficult to understand. So consciousness gets replaced by existence, because existence and consciousness are same, synonymous. So delight of existence is nothing but the delight of consciousness, is nothing but the delight of Supreme Himself, because Sat Chit Ananda are not different at all. When we have also addressed the solution for the problem, why pain and suffering remain, and these things will continue to remain with us. But only thing is, as we grow in our consciousness, as we grow higher and higher, reach the upper portion of the entire spectrum, we start paying the effort with these things. Thank you very much. I think I have concluded. If there are any questions, we can try to take it up.
Any questions?
Hello, Ajit, can you hear me? Ajit, can you hear me? Ajit?
Dr. Ajit Sabnis.
No, I think any from the participants, I also take this opportunity to thank all the web people who are participating through the webinar, through the Zoom link. I hope the clarity was there, clarity of the sound and other things. So if there are any questions, sir, you can kindly put it. I don't see any
Ajit. Hello,
anything
Ajit.
in the chat box also. So
hello, Ajit. Can you hear me?
the question is open to
Ajit.
all, to those who are
Hello,
sitting
Ajit,
here
can you hear me?
physically, and to those who are on the participating on the web.
Ajit, can you hear me?
Please unmute yourself.
Hello.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm unmuted. I'm unmuted.
Okay.
I'm unmuted.
Definition of delight
But
of existence is
Ajit
delight
can't hear
of
me.
Supreme Lord Himself. I thank everybody, and I also thank Pradeep ji, who has been here right from the beginning, and then thank you, Pradeep Bhaiya, for encouraging us by being one of us.
I'll talk to you over the phone.
Everybody.
You can't hear me. I'll talk to you on the phone.
We thank Dr. Ajit Sabnis for a very enlightening and a lovely talk on the subject. We also salute his expression of Sri Aurobindo's exhaustive research and self-discovery in the subject of delight of existence. We also thank Ravi Shankar, Manager, Admin and Finance, for his invaluable help for all the activities conducted here. We thank Sri Aurobindo Complex Trust staff for all the help they have rendered. And finally, all the august audience present here, including the online ones, for their invaluable contribution to this program. Well, few pointers of the talk today. Existence is conscious and dynamic. Supermind is the essence of Sat Chit Ananda. Grace is proportional to aspiration and our sincerity to elevate ourselves in evolutionary consciousness. Delight of existence is progressive manifestation step. Well, friends, our next program is a webinar talk on 11th December. The topic is Sri Aurobindo's mini epics, Urvashi and Love and Death. A talk in Kannada by Professor R.K. Kulkarni of Vijaypura from 4 to 5:30 p.m. All are welcome. Once again, a reminder of our exhibition at Karnataka Chitrakala Parishad on 14, 15, 16 of this month. And the bus leaves sharp at 8 o'clock on 14th of December from here. We close this session with these words by the mother. To thee who has been the material emblem of our Master, to thee our infinite gratitude. Before thee who has done so much for us, who has worked, struggled, suffered, hoped, endured so much. Before thee who has willed all, attempted all, prepared, achieved all for us. Before thee we bow down and implore that we may never forget, even for a moment, all we owe to the Mother. And friends, we close this session with 1 minute silence.